how you know when you're under the media microscope?
Well, I really ought to give it some thought. Again,
When we start counting, you knows.
people know who I am.
She is the all-grown-up now Caroline Kennedy.
It's in our family, you always think about,
First, she was criticized for not talking to the press while trying to get appointed to fill Hillary Clinton's Senate seat.
Hillary Clinton, is a big loss for our state.
And now that she is talking, we're on her back about excessive you-knows, as many as 4 per sentence.
I can tell you that in our family, in my family in particular, I think, there was a sense that, we have to work twice as hard.
A blog called Per Function noted them with a buzzer.
I think that, I bring, my life experience.
In a 2.5-minute clip,
I've really tried to encourage people.
they buzzed Kennedy 30 times, leading voice coach Jeffrey Davis to say,
Wow, that's a lot of you-knows.
You know it. Saying you know a lot does not mean she doesn't know that she's dumb.
No, it doesn't. No, not at all. It's a verbal tick. Basically what happens is you haven't clarified your thought yet, and you start speaking anyways.
So you're stalling.
You're stalling.
Davis calls it the little phrase that saves us between thoughts, though most of us don't need saving 142 times. That's how often the website Politico counted Kennedy saying, you know, in a transcript of a New York Times interview. Of course, we all have tics.
You just said for a big
President-elect Obama is known for his ahs.
I think they're still working it through.
Though lately, he seems to have broken that habit. Sarah Palin had her winking tic.
How long have I been at this, like 5 weeks?
And we all know President Bush had his linguistic barriers and tariffs.
Terriers and barracks everywhere.
One solution to saying too many you-knows is to be told every time you say it, and the web is helping Caroline Kennedy with that. The speech coach recommends allowing silence between thoughts.
Silence has more eloquence than words, and it's powerful.
At least Kennedy knows what she doesn't know.
I have, quite a bit to learn, but
Jeannie Moos, CNN, New York.